Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. This is the fourth and the last video of our Python programming series where we are building the Gradio based UI on top of the stable diffusion models, especially using TensorFlow and Keras. The first three videos we have covered a lots of ground and wrote lots of code. This video is going to use the base code from the last video and add more code to it. The previous few videos we have created the 3-tab based UI where first tab is designed to load the stable diffusion TensorFlow model. The second tab where we set our prompt and add various settings to our prompt to expedite the content creation. And finally, we can generate our images. These images are generated and we do have the code which does save the image on the disk. However, we do not have a UI where we could read all the images which are saved to the disk, as well as we could expose them to the UI. That is not what we have covered previously. So in this video, we are going to extend our UI by adding a new tab where we will be able to load the saved images. As you could see here in this drop down, they are all being created earlier and we can select any of the image. We can display the image. Here is the image which was created and the prompt which was used to create the image. We can select any of the image depending on our selection, and that is what is being displayed. We can go back to the text to image prompt. Here is the latest image which is being created. And if we use the same UI to create the sunflower with rose and tulip as created by Michelangelo, try to keep it hyper realistic along with 3D style. Let's run the code. A new image will be generated. And while image generation is going on, we can still go look into here. Look, the very last image in this list, which is the art image 7. This is the last image and the prompt was used sunflower with rose and tulip, and choice artist name is Picasso, but none of the other styles we have used in this image. Here is our new image is generated. Here we have sunflower with tulip, and because our setting was hyper realistic, so this is more realistic image, and the flavor of the artist is used Michelangelo. I am not sure if that is what being used, but at least what we want, that image is also generated. And if we come look into our load and display saved image, reload all the new images, we will see the number 8, select, and here you could see the prompt and the image used. So that is all we are going to create in this video. The image as well as the prompt detail along with image file name, they all are saved in a JSON file. That is what is being loaded here, and the information is rendered depending on the user selection from the dropdown. While we are going to code this whole project, you are going to learn several new things. If you are new to Python and if you are an expert, still there will be a lot to learn for you. So let's get ourselves started now. Before we start our final chapter, I would want you to make sure that you have time and visit all the previous 3 videos related to this series. The list of all 3 videos is in front of you. You can also look at this video information or its video details section. So for this project, we are going to use the previous code, Web UI code part 2 as our base. I will be creating a copy of it and the name will be Web UI code part 3. That will be our code. So we are going to load Web UI code part 3 as our project. So let me close this project, Web UI code part 2, and load the part 3. Here we have loaded the Web UI code part 3. The project is still part 2, so we need to change it. Change the project to part 3. So now the folder and the project, they both have same name. And looking into the path, you can validate that the root is Web UI code part 3. The runtime is still the same, 3.10.6. The webui.py is our launching file in part 3 and our working folder is part 3. So everything is pretty much same as the previous code. In this code, we are just going to add more functionality on top of our existing project. So before we start, let's run this code. So at least make sure everything is good to go. The application is started at port 7860. So here is our whole code which we have built in previous video. So in this video, we are going to add a new tab where all the functionality which are going to be added today will be rendered in this new tab. Our immediate objective is to create a button so we could actually load the saved images, and by selecting a particular image from the drop down and clicking this button, we should be able to display that image. And then later we are going to make sure that we save everything prompt as well as the image, so we can actually see the prompt related to selected image. But first we are going to just create a drop down where we could load all the images and we can see them in the UI. So first we are going to create a button. So load saved image button, that will be our button, and this will be gr.button, and our label will be load saved images, and we need to create a drop down saved images list equals to gr dot drop down, label will be saved images, and we need to load the images here, the list of images. So first thing what we need to do is that I will just create the list here and I will just call a comma b comma c. It means these values will be listed in our drop down, at least to get us started. Then I will add more functionality to it. So that's a drop down, and then we need to create another button here which will say display selected image button, and that will be selected image. These are the three options we have added. So when this application will run, there will be a button, there will be a drop down, and drop down will have these items, and then there will be button which will be used to show the image after we select something here. So let's use this button first, load saved images button, and write a method to it, dot click, and first we need to write the image loader. So let me add a method here, define load saved images from disk. And if you remember, in previous video we have created a method to collect the file list. So this is actually the file list, so we can actually use this whole code here. So all the images which are available in this output folder, which is here, we will be able to get all the files, have the extension .png, and we can return the file list here. So this file list is the array which is actually going to be returned from this method, and now we need to set this file list to the drop down, which is this. So this is the saved image list. So that's the trick we have to apply, but we can come back here. So our method is load saved images from disk. So that's our method, input, output. And remember, every time when we are saving an image, we actually do update a counter. And the counter is this image total. So image total is always being updated whenever we save an image. So here is the save image to disk, and this method does update the total based on current total number of images. So we could actually use this to check if we would want to check anything or not. So we can say if is greater than 0. So it means that file list initially is empty, and I will be using this saved image list to placed in place of output. Click event will happen. This method will be called, which will read all the files saved in this output folder, and all that list should be updated in this list. Let's see if it works or not. Our application is started. Let me reload our application. So here is the fourth tab, but let me expand our window, and here you could see all four tabs are in same line. As you see here that this drop down is disabled by default. I will be showing you why. And then when we will click this run button, this should actually load the images here. If we click here, the images should be loaded here. So let's see where the problem is. Oh, so label is the label. So that's the reason we were seeing run rather than the label here. And one more thing, I just wanted to show you that as you see here that output has no images. That's why it's all empty to start with. So because here we are using the class, and here is the list of files which needs to be loaded here. So what we can do, we can actually make this thing coming out from our class. So in the class level, we will add a new field called self.image files list, and this is an array, and by default we just add a notification here. So you could say image files list, and when this gr.dropdown will be initiated, it will load the list from class image. So this is the image file list. So whenever this will load up, it will show the list which is available in the image file list. However, when this button will be clicked and we need to get the files, then this button where the clicker is available, clicker is here, this event will be clicked. This files list is actually self.image files list will become the files list. And this way, what's going to happen is that we are not returning any files list from this function. It means there will be nothing to send from here. Then the question comes how the update is going to happen after the click event. So after this image file list will be updated, we need to actually return the gr.dropdown.update, and within the update our choices will be the self image list. So self.image file list, and that will be the return from this method. So after we have returned the current image file list which has been updated by this update, we can actually remove this. We do not really need it. We can take this set here, and we do not really need this line also. Now we come back to the place where we have added this method here. So here we can actually use this saved image list as an input and as the output, both places. Let's stop it, run it again. As you see here, that based on our setting, there is only one entry in that drop down based on this setting. Now we click this button, it actually loads up and it generates error. We can look into where the error is coming from. Let's click here. Okay, this button is not hitting this method. So let's look into where the issue can be. Here we are calling this method, and because there is an input method here, we need to still add some kind of here. So just call it files list as an input. So at least the method is right. Oh, I made a mistake here because buttons, we do not use the label here. So I will remove these labels. Restarted the application. Reload. Here is our load saved image. If we click here, you see that our breakpoint hit, but there are no images. So it's going to show the same result. There is no change. So what we will do, we will run our whole code. We will at least have one or two images and make sure that images are listed here. So let's load the model. Our model is loaded successfully. Let's generate an image, an hashtag warrior fighting with the lion. So based on the prompt, here is our image. Now we can come back to here. There are no images in our drop-down list. Looking at the code, as we can see in output folder, there is one image. Let's load images. We can see images here. Now we could validate that images which are available in the output folder are listed here. In the next step, we are going to set the click event for the display selected image. So whatever image we are going to select from the drop down, we could actually render them here. So before we add the code, let's add one more image. We can create a photo, smooth, black and white. That's right, a warrior. Let's see. So here is the image based on our prompt. Two lines are fighting. But at least we have two images. Let's load images. Now we have two and we can select any one of them. So our job will become easy to generate an event for this button click. Let's come back here. We need to add an image here. So saved image display is the gr.image and the label will be saved image. Let's generate the click event. So we need to write a method which will say display selected image. So define display selected image, and that's where we need to read the file from the disk. So this will be the image folder where the image is going to be. The image name has to be passed here. So say selected image name, that will be our selected name from the drop down. So we need to give the full name. So we can say full image name is going to be this path plus slash plus selected image name. So this is how we got the full name. Now we need to read the image from the disk. So we are going to return the image from here. So let's create image is equal to none right now and return this image for a while, at least for sake of correctness in this method. Display select image is going to be called here self dot display selected image input and output. So the output will be the image which we have just saved image display. So this will be our output and our input will be the saved image list. Because what's going to happen is that whenever you are going to select an image from it, this selected item will be used as the input for our function. So here is our function. So selected image, and it actually a list, selected image list. So we need to make sure that if selected image list is not none and the length of selected image list is greater than 0, only then we are going to read the image. This image will be the none here, and now we can set full image name is equal to path plus slash plus here. You can actually use, so for example, os dot path dot join, and here we can actually use the path, so we do not really need to worry about these slashes. That's a better way to do it. So that's our path. Then we need to check if full image name is actually a file. So os dot path dot is file, full image name. If it is file, then we can actually use the pillow library. So you could actually say that this is the image, this will be image dot open, and you can actually pass this path, and this image will become your image which is read by image library, and we can return this image here. So that's how you will be able to generate the image output when the click event happen. Let's run this code again. Reload, no images, first load image. load saved images. Let's put a breakpoint here. Load saved images. And as you could see that whenever we are loading our application, initially the image total is 0. When the object was initialized, the initial count is 0. So we need to make sure that we can actually calculate this correctly here. So the way we are calculating the total number of images is here. So we can actually take this whole code, create a new method here called define calculate all saved images. That's our method. And here is image files list, and total will be the length of image files list, and that will be the return from here. So return will be the length of image files list, and this method we can use image total. So whenever this class will start, it will set the image total based on this method. So that's the reason the two images will be listed in this output folder will be set as the class property. Restart the application. Application is started. Let's reload it. Come here. There are no items listed in this dropdown. Load images, dropdown hit, and looking into the image total 2, which is correct. It means the previously when we could not load any images, we have fixed that problem. Let's remove this breakpoint. Now we have two images, select two, display selected image. When you click here, and it looks like the click is not working. Let's put a breakpoint and fix that problem. So here was the display selected image button. Display selected image, that's the method. Put a breakpoint here, click, breakpoint is hit. Here is our selected image list. Okay, so looking into that, it looks like that there is only single images coming as a art image 2. It means we do not really need to have this method, because this is not really going to work, because I was expecting that this should be an array, but looks like that there is only single item is coming. So output here, let's see what is the full file name. Output, oh, we made a mistake here. It should be the image file name here, and here we can also change it if it is not none, so we don't really need this code. We just call it selected image, selected image, selected image, because it's not a list. The port is 7861 this time. Let's come here, no images, load two images. Let's select one, click here, selected images, art image 1. The full path image name is the output art image 1. Very good. And this is a file, image is loaded, should be output, and here is our saved image. It means if we can remove this breakpoint, load second image, here is the second, here is the first. So our image loader is working fine. Now in the next step, we need to create a JSON file where we are going to save the prompt as well as the image information. And when we are going to load here, we could actually get the prompt information as well as the image. So let's come back here. So the place where we are saving the image, we are going to write a method which will update the JSON with the saved image information as well as the prompt related information. So let's look into the save image to disk method. Here is this method which actually saves the image. So here what we can do, we can actually return the file name. So this will be our file name. We could say return art image dot format, and that will be the image ID. So that will be the actual file name which is going to be returned after the image is really saved here. So we can fix this code in little better to make it much more appropriate. So we can say if this is none by default, and if image to save is not none, only then we are going to perform this whole code. Okay, and here the final image name is also none, Let's take this code, and here will be the final image name, and here is the final image name. And we can also validate that if image to save is not none, only then the final image is going to be updated. Whenever this method is going to be called, we need to pass the proper image here, and we can already check the code that that's the place where we are passing the correct image. If you are not passing anything correctly, it will not save. So here we can get the final image name. We call it saved image name. And if this is not none, then we are going to update our JSON. So if saved image is not none, we can do the update JSON method. So let me write the update JSON method outside here from the class first. So define update JSON content, and let's call that. Later we can put that inside in case we need to put it right now here. So we need to send our prompt all the options we have along with saved file name. These are all options going to be passed to the update JSON method. Here are all the methods. So that's where the JSON has to be updated. So let's create the JSON data. JSON data is going to be the prompt. So prompt will be the prompt. Artist style choice will be the artist style choice. Artist name will be the artist name option. Photo style, design choice, color choice, and the saved image name is going to be saved image name. So that's our JSON content. One thing we just need to make sure that if the prompt has any of single quote or double quote, that might cause problem in JSON data, so we should remove them. So we can say prompt is equal to prompt dot replace. So we need to replace all these double quote. So let's put this slash double quote, and we need to replace this with space, empty space, sorry. Similar to that, if there are single quote, remove that one as well. So that way we made sure that prompt is much more cleaner. And the JSON file we are going to save in this output folder. So let's name the file. So we can say JSON file name will be the os.get current working directory plus output slash output image output images.json. So that will be the JSON file name. So this is the JSON file name. Here is the current working directory full path. And if you would want to split it, you can actually call it JSON content file is this. JSON content folder is this. So you can actually use os.path.join, and here you can say comma content folder comma file name, and that's how you can get the full JSON file name path. Now what we can do, we can come to the output folder, and we can create a file called this output images.json. In this JSON we create a new content called images, and that will be the place where all the images are going to be saved. So it means that this image is going to have all the JSON data related with every image. We can say JSON file data is equal to open, and we are going to provide the path. So that will be the JSON file data. And now we need to use the JSON. So we can say import JSON, and this JSON will help us to load the file. So we can say JSON dot load this data, and that will become the JSON image data. So whenever this line will execute, all the data which is stored in this file will be loaded in this object, and then this line is take this text object and load as a JSON object. So this is JSON image data. Now we can say if, so now we know that there is a image must be as a root of our JSON. So if images in JSON image data, that must be, this images must be here, then we can say JSON image data, because that's the JSON image data. Then we need to dot images dot append, and here will be our JSON data. That's where, and that's how you will be able to append all the JSON data for each and every image along with prompt inside here image. That's where. So just one more time, you read the file, then you convert that to JSON object, then look for image tag, which is the first one, and if it find, then take this image data, which is object, inside this image data append the JSON data. But there is a one problem we could solve right now, is that just to make sure that that particular file does not exist, correct? That's, we just need to make sure that that file does not exist there. So we need to make sure that whenever we look into the JSON image data, we make sure that all the files which are stored in the JSON images object does not have the file. So we will put a placeholder here, check the file in the appending, but at least this should be ready for us. And let's take this method, make sure this method is what being called here when the file is being created. So generator image from prompt, that's where it is. And when we are running the code, we can actually remove these two images. We click here, we see there are no images because our output folder is empty. Let's load the model. The model is loaded. Let's put a prompt here. Horse is riding on a boat. Breakpoint hit. Here we could jump. Our output path is this, which shows that part 3 outputs, and at this point we can see the image data. You could see it's reading the image, and if this check is correct, yes, image is there, this JSON data is going to be updated inside this file. Oh, one thing we have missed is that we haven't saved this JSON data back to the disk, but at least this code is working. So we can make sure that we are saving here. You can say JSON to save content will be the JSON dot dump, and we are going to dump this JSON image data. Indent we can use 4, so saving will be correct here, and then JSON dot dumps. So now this is the correct method, and then we can say with the JSON file path. So this is the JSON file path, and we need to say open. This is the file which we are going to open with write mode as out JSON file, and we can say out JSON file dot write, and that is going to write this JSON to save. And now whatever you have added will be saved inside here. So that's one thing we have completed. Let's rerun. Application is started. Here was the image which was created previously, but we can go ahead and we can delete this image, reload the model. Model is loaded. Let's create a prompt. Rocket is flying on a futuristic planet with trees and islands. Let's see. So that will be the image here, which is generated here, but the method is not exit, so we haven't seen the image here. So let's come to next breakpoint. We have already validated that part. So that's where now we are checking the JSON. This is the JSON dump, which is pretty much having the proper JSON file with tabbed, and now we are saving the file into the disk. Code is running. We can check the output. Here you could see that this is a futuristic planet with trees, and that's a rocket. quite futuristic rocket, and we can look into the image, load saved image. There is only one image. Here is the display selected image. Now we could actually change this. Golden rocket is flying on a futuristic planet with rocks. Let's check one more time here. At this point, there should be two images in this output image JSON. If we open here, you can see that two images are added, 1 and 2, and these are the two files, and here is the golden. So whatever we ask, a golden rocket is flying on a futuristic planet with rock. Here are the rocks there. If we could actually ask the asteroids and anything else, but what we are asking, the model is definitely generating the results. Now looking into our save and load, we can look into, here are the image number 2, image number 1, and everything looks good, and our JSON is also ready now. So now we just really need to select the JSON, and depending on whatever file is selected by the user, we just really need to select that particular node from the JSON and render all that information back to UI. So that will be our very last item within this project. So we will be adding one more label here, and that actually we can add this label here underneath here. So whenever this button will click, it will not only load the image, but it will also load the prompt information which we have saved here. Stop the execution. So we need to look into the method where we are selecting, loading the load saved image from the disk, display selected image. That's time we need to get the information about the prompt. So display selected image. So it means that this method not only need to send the image, it also need to provide the prompt info. So we can say prompt info is also needs to be sent from here, and currently the prompt info is none. So we can come back to here, saved image. We can show here saved prompt info is actually gr.label, and here we can label will be saved prompt, and that will be the output when the saved image is being displayed here. We can go look into here. Now we can set up the prompt. So at this point we know the selected image is not none. So we need to look into the JSON and find out this prompt details based on selected image. Let's come back to here where our updated JSON content is. We can write a method, define get selected prompt in JSON, and here we need to have the file name. So image file name must be entered here. So let's look into the file related information. So where is the output file? This. So we need this, we need this, we need this. We read file, we check if images are there. Then once we know, then we need to look into JSON nodes and select for saved image name, and then find if the saved image name is actually similar to the image file name which is being sent. So let's write the code here. So we can say the JSON item in JSON item for JSON item in JSON image data with images. So that is where your all the JSON items will be iterated. So we can actually put this thing inside a parenthesis, and that will be the all JSON nodes. So this will be the all JSON nodes which are stored here. JSON item for JSON item in JSON, but we need to actually filter it. So we need to add a condition. So we need to say if the JSON item which we are trying to process here has the saved image name which matches with image file name selected. Now all JSON nodes are no longer left. It's actually selected JSON node. So we could say selected JSON node. Selected JSON node is became this. Hopefully you understand that part nicely. This part actually from here to here gives the list of all JSON node, and this condition filtered only single JSON node as output. Then we can say if this thing somehow is not none and the length must be greater than 0, this one, so that will become your JSON. And if length is greater than 0, then we can actually return this thing. That will be our selected prompt is equal to missing prompt. But in this scenario, this prompt will become the string of selected JSON node, and we can return selected prompt. And get selected prompt in JSON will be called here whenever display is called here. So we could say this is image open. At the same time, we can pass the selected image that will return the prompt info. And here we can say prompt not found. Let's run the code again. Application is started. Let's run it. Now we can load images. So there are 2 images. Select one, display selected image. Here is the prompt. Select 2, display selected image. Here is a prompt, and here is the image. So what we are expecting, everything is working. So the previous 2 images which were created, we made sure that everything is working as expected. Now if we come back to our code where we are updating the JSON, and if you would want to make sure that JSON is not available now, because you already have this code which is get selected prompt in the JSON, here you could actually figure it out if the JSON is available. So this code will help us. So we could write a method called define find JSON file node find image file node in JSON, and here we just call it image file name, and we just need to find out if the JSON exists or not. Let me take this whole code, but I will change it. We don't need to return prompt. We need to just check if this thing is not none and if this thing is found. It means return, otherwise return false. That's it. So now you can take this method and you can actually use before you are updating, because if the particular file name is already being saved in JSON, then you should not be saving it. So you could say if this method not, if it is false, only save, otherwise don't save. So JSON will not be updated if already there is a single file name. So if you try to save another node with the artimage1 or artimage2, this will protect it. So that's how we have added that protection. So this code is working fine as we have expected. And in the text to image prompt, there is a bug, so which I found yesterday when I was reading the code. So let me fix it. And that bug is here when we create the prompt, because when we try to select the artist style choices, the prompt is only added in this prompt when this condition. So this condition is not right. So if choices are greater than 0, if the artist style choice is none, we should not add here. That's all we really need to. So we can say if our length artist style choice is greater than 0, then we need to make sure that the choice does not have anything none there. So we just need to fix this thing. We need to remove this thing from here. We need to say if greater than 0 and none is actually not in this list. That's all we really need to check here. And none not in this. That's all. That's a proper check. So if none is not there, then we will add everything. If none is there, then we will not add anything. So this way our style will be selected and multiple style will be all added into the prompt. So let's run this code again and validate everything working correctly. Reload. Let's make it full screen. The model is loaded successfully. So let's create a prompt, and this time we are going to have a cute dog and turtle playing in the sand. Let's use the Disney style, and we can also make this whole thing look like the painting. Sharp. Let's have the blue color, make it animation style, make it 3D style, also have the game character, and don't use photo style for now. So here is the image based on our prompt. We can go back, look into the load image, third image which we have just loaded, display image. That's the, here are the choices: animation style, game character, artist name we are not using, photo style up. And if we come back, text to image prompt, take the same prompt, make it to design concept, character concept as made by Rembrandt. Now the dog and turtle image is much more realistic because we have added few more styles to it. And I just wanted to make sure that our prompt which we are creating is really correct, everything. So we can actually select this breakpoint. We can actually change this from Rembrandt to Vincent van Gogh. Looking into the text prompt, we can validate that sharp Disney style animation. So there is a one bug here, is that style by everything, but we are not creating the space between here. Sand blue sharp color, and then the properties update prompt. So I think we just really need to, at this point we can say add prompt is equal to prompt plus space. That's it. And after that, because this is the join here, so we could actually add a space here, and then we can remove this line. So that's where this is the joining. So very first item with artist style, so that is space which we are trying to fix here. You see that sharp comma, it should be Disney style. So that is what not added, the very first one. So we need to make sure that we are actually at this point adding a comma here, and then rest everything we are adding. So very first comma is needed, rest should be okay. Let's run it. And this is what this prompt is, and the Vincent van Gogh style we have applied. That always give you some of the, I think, Starry Night. Blue is being prominent here, that's why it is more bluish to the object. And send, we can look into back to all of our prompt. Here are the prompts which we have created. We can look into all the prompts, we can validate everything is good, what we are expecting. Prompt number 5, that's where it is. And even if you close the application, you reload it without even loading any model, or without loading any model, still you will be able to have access to all of your prompts and all your images. So that's where we stop this whole coding. That conclude the whole project. The whole project which we have completed in this web UI code part 3 will be pushed to the GitHub. So this is the folder which we have added. So I will be pushing this to the server. Code has been pushed. The code is again available in this DeepWorks repo. Folder is stable diffusion TF. Here is the part 3 where everything which we have covered is all available here, along with the output folder and the output JSON. So that is pretty much, we have completed the whole coding related to our project. The whole code is also available at the GitHub, so you can use it, consume it, modify it, whatever way you would want to extend it. Please do so. If you have any issue or you have suggestions, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be very happy to follow up with you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for your time and patronage, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video. Until then, thanks. Please take care.